Being a chief technology officer or a CTO is much more than just choosing technology solutions and keeping the lights on. The CTO is responsible for overseeing the transformation of every business process and is expected to apply technology into every areas of business from strategies to execution. We have with us today one such eminent CTO, Guru Venkatachalam, Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of APJ of Enterprise Software Company, VMware. With nearly 3 decades of experience in IT, Guru has deep expertise in financial services sector where he has led several large enterprise transformations as well as global engineering teams. Prior to this role, he led the cloud architecture at VMware. So over to you, Guru, and a very warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Sohini. Good to be here. Hope you're all staying well, and celebrations on International Women's Day today.
Thank you very much. So let us start with your very interesting career journey. If you can talk a little about your entrepreneurial journey, your career journey.
Yeah, thank you, Sohini. As you mentioned, my name is Guru Venkatachalam. Born in a small town in Kerala, but then spent most of my studying, etc., in Chennai, my schooling and college from Nagpur, Maharashtra. And after that, I think it's in 1990, I started my career in Chennai for a couple of years as a technology vendor. And then me and few of my friends decided to go to Hong Kong on a trip, and then got a role there. And then that turned into a 9-year experience in Hong Kong. Again, as a couple of years as a tech vendor, but then since then, from 1995 till 2020, have been a technologist in the FSI industry. Initially part of a British bank, and then got acquired by a French bank in Hong Kong. And then in Hong Kong in 1998, I joined Solomon Smith Barney, where the merger happened with Travelers Group. And then as part of that, Citibank ONT headquartered in Singapore, got the opportunity to move to Singapore end of 2001. And then, 19 years just flew by, right? Or close to 20 years in Citibank. We built a team called as Architecture and Engineering. So as part of that, I had a global responsibility for one of the domain for all the end user solutions in Citi. And then also wore an Asia CTO hat for all other infrastructure pillars in Citi. We put together, I think in the year of 2012, 2013, if I remember right, a 2020 IT strategy for Citibank, and a group of technology architects part of the transformation journey. Through that, because when you're in Citi in a smaller global organization, you do get the opportunity to interact with key technology companies globally, whether it's VMware or Microsoft or Dell or EMC or Amazon and Google and others. Through that, got the opportunity to interact with a number of senior stakeholders in VMware as well. And then in end of 2019, when I hit my 50th birthday, one of my old CTOs who I used to work for, he joined VMware in 2017. He came and just offered me saying, why don't you join VMware? Initially, I thought after having been in an FSI industry, why VMware? But then the way how it resonated very well to me is most of the enterprise CTOs and CIOs are in a similar journey, how to leverage cloud solutions, how to modernize their applications, how to enable their all employees to with all the solutions, etc. So with that, I joined as a cloud architect, leading the team in Asia Pac, interacted with number of enterprise CIOs and CTOs in APJ. And then end of last year, which was a very peculiar and interesting year for all of us at the back of COVID. But at the end of 2020, VMware CTO for APJ, Bruce Davey, he announced his retirement. And since then, I have taken his role. So my current role is working for the global CTO, Greg Lavender, and partnering with Duncan Hewitt, is the Asia Pacific business head, and all his management team. Primary focus is to interact and help customers with their digital transformation journey. So that's a quick summary, Soini.
Wonderful. So that's a very interesting career journey with, lots of experience and yeah, basically a lot of things to understand. Can you share one such aha moment in your career?
So good question. I mean, what is kind of fresh in all our mind is the last 12 months, right? So I have seen similar things. What amazes me is whenever in the form of a crisis, whether it's the Asian financial crisis, and I definitely remember the day when Citi stock hit $1 in 2008, the global financial crisis. And then, of course, after that, there was a SARS in Asia Pac. So at the moment of such type of crisis, how all of us come together and help each other to get out of that situation, number one. And number two is in each one of those scenarios, technology has been a tool where the companies have gone to. But I still remember the day in 28 to 29, 2009, when Citi stock hit $1 and we were all trying to come out of it, and what is it we can do better? The one thing, credit to that bank, what they did was invest in technology and use that to accelerate whatever solutions they had in front of the customer. So my aha moment is always that put under a crisis situation, how all of us come together and help each other. And in most cases, we leverage technology as a tool.
Thanks for the insight. Guru, would like to understand how the CTO role is evolving in recent years and how different it is right now from the other, other technology roles like the CIO role or the CDO role that are coming up, the Chief Digital Officers and the Chief Information Officer, and a lot of other new titles that are coming up.
No, absolutely. In fact, and the one thing what I can say is it is changing on a monthly or a yearly basis, etc. Right. So previously we used to have just as one role, CIO, and then later on CIO and CTO, and then to your point, there are many other what we call as CXO roles have come up, right? In the case of Chief Information Security Officer, what we call a CISO, and in some other areas, Chief Data Officer, CDO, and then in the last few years, one more thing, which is Chief Digital Officer has come along. What happens is the more and more these type of roles, the centerpiece of the entire role is the Chief Technology Officer's role, I would say, because the information security officers will depend on the technology solutions brought to the company, but the information security officers will liaise with the risk and control and compliance and all the information security arms of the bank or any other large enterprise. Similarly, Chief Digital Officer, once they've come along, they interact with many other business stakeholders, how to transform their business, how to digitize the business, etc. But the CDO's right-hand person will be the Chief Technology Officer. Similarly, that Chief Data Officer, in many mature large enterprise companies, now they've spun up this new role called as Chief Data Officer. But guess what? Of course, they need to connect with all other business entities, how they're consuming data and how they're leveraging data, changing into information and whatnot. But that person's right-hand person will be the technology officer. So the way I see it is CISO, CDO, as I mentioned, data or digital, for all of them, Chief Technology Officer will be the center of attention and will be the right-hand person. Number one. And number two is I personally see CTO as the primary change agent, right? So leverage new technology solutions, of course, not to be at the bleeding edge. Where necessary, they can definitely be at the leading edge. But on the other hand, have the necessary culture in the company, bold and brave to disrupt. Right? They need to learn the business requirements and then have the necessary platform in place and the culture in place so they can leverage new technology solutions, at the same time being very, very brave to disrupt. Right? So chief technology officer, in my opinion, as a number of other roles come along, more, if not all, most of their roles, right-hand person will be the CTO.
A lot of companies are doing digital transformation, they're saying, in the last 1 year. And they're forced to do, in fact, thanks to the pandemic. Even before that, it was happening. So, do you think they're doing it right? And what do you mean by doing digital transformation right? What are the ingredients of a right or a successful digital transformation? Uh, I would like to understand from you.
Yeah, thank you, Sohini. As you mentioned, if at all there is at the back of the peculiar and one of the most challenging, if not the challenging year, if at all there is only one positive thing, is this is definitely accelerated, helped the enterprise companies to digitally transform. Why digitally transform is what is an area we need to really ponder. It's driven by the customers, right? So almost every customer these days, especially at the back of last year, they are demanding to consume any type of services to be delivered on the mobile device, right? So the customer journey starts from whether they are getting acquired or customer acquisition as a phase, what we call in a bank, from all the way till there, till they, retire out of the bank, if I can call it that way. Similarly, a student interacting with college and schools and whatever. And guess what? Most of the citizens, the way how they are going to interact with customers. So if you are forced to take the physical touch out of all the customer interactions, then the customers are going to expect everything to be delivered digitally to their devices, right? And how we are going to do, I think that's what enterprise companies have been doing. Some mature enterprise companies have been doing it for the last decade, if not more. And to your point, last year, all these entities have been forced to deliver these things. The second question is very interesting, what you mentioned, right? Whether we have done it right. So people have been digitally transforming. Say, for example, from a VMware perspective, we got call after call after call, day after day. Since Feb last year, I still remember the day when we got calls saying that, hey, what does it take to enable 100,000 students in Australian universities have gone to China for Chinese New Year, but they can't come back? What does it take to enable them, right? So similar type of request, week in, week out, started happening. In my opinion, last 12 months, yes, most of the enterprise companies have somehow figured out to enable employees to work from wherever they are, because they are forced to deliver services to their customers. Are we really delivering the right performance? And are we really delivering the right experience is what is coming out of this, right? So most of the boardroom conversations, which I've been interacting with a number of CIOs over the last 12 months, is that, hey, yes, we have enabled everybody. Yes, we are delivering services, but are we really delivering the right experience? So this goes back to your question of digital transformation, have they done it right? Right? So are we really delivering the right experience to the customers when they want, where they want? Are we really delivering it? Are we really delivering the right experience to our employees wherever they are, right? That's number two. And the most important, are we delivering it securely, right? So what happens is you need to acquire information about the person, about the customer, then only you can build knowledge on it and then deliver the right type of services to them in real time. But to do that, there are a number of things around privacy, around control and risk and compliance, and from a security perspective, all these things have to be figured out correctly. So are we really doing this rightly? The third thing is, in my own words, I call it as 3Ss, is the demand on speed, and demand on scale, and demand on security, right? Speed, scale, and security has become the real mantra here. Previously, whatever used to take many, many months, now because of the back of last 12 months, people are asking questions like, hey, can I get this enabled now? Can I enable all my employees to work from home next week? So the speed and scale at which people are operating has completely broken all the barriers, in my opinion. And there is this expectation that people can deliver solutions leveraging cloud or modernized applications or whatever. So are we really doing this digital transformation right? I think that's what people are working through the process. And over the next few years, I see in the next 12 to 24 months or so, most of the enterprise companies, if not all, will be in the journey.
So how do you think technologies like cloud, AI, blockchain, big data, these technologies, how are they speeding up the digital transformation process?
Yeah.
If you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, thank you, Sophie. I mean, as I mentioned before, almost everything and anything is consumed digitally today. And as you do that, it translates into the amount of data which is getting generated in real time, right? I mean, of course, who would have thought that everything is going to be digitally streamed, movies and Netflix and TV series and whatnot, all the way till, like, if you see in my home, I have got 2 kids and both of them are doing online learning most of the time. And of course, my wife is also taking some lessons and whatnot. And I'm spending most of my time at home and also connecting with various customers over digital medium, including this particular call, which we are recording. So the amount of data which gets generated, number one. And number two is with that data, because we need to deliver, when I mean we is most of the enterprise customers, they need to deliver services to be consumed by their customers in real time. To do that, you need to make information about this data, right? So say, for example, if Guru is he's a vegetarian and he is in a particular area, then what is that I can do? Some location-based selling type of services I would like to consume. So whoever is providing that service digitally to me, I'll be getting connected to that. So just with the sheer amount of data getting generated, and there is this race to make information about intelligence from this data, then obviously you need solutions such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, and not only using the human power, but of course, human power supported by all these solutions, AI and ML is paramount. And number 3 is we discussed about scale and speed before, right? So previously, when you want to have 100 servers or maybe even 10 servers spun up in your data center, the enterprise companies will call the vendor, and the whole process will probably take few weeks, if not few months, to get just to get the necessary infrastructure provisioned. So all these hyperscaler in the last 12 months has proved so important for the customers, and it has helped them, whether it's Microsoft's of the world, or whether it's AWS, whether it's Google, whether it's Ali, whether it's Oracle, IBM, you just name all of them, all these cloud vendors, because the demand is that, can I get that infrastructure provisioned now in a matter of few days, if not few hours, number one. And number two is there are these themes which are coming up over the last few years, this moving from perpetual to SaaS, right? So there is this expectation by customers to get everything delivered as a service. So similarly, for not only infrastructure as a service, but what we call in technology terms as platform as a service, and now it has moved all the way up to software as a service. And then people are ready to pay for the things at that particular point in time, based on their consumption, and then move on, right? Instead of having multi-year agreements and whatnot. So AI, ML is going to be paramount, will continue to be paramount, and leveraging cloud absolutely will be a dependency, if not the primary or main driver, if I can call it that way, using those services to deliver the solutions back to their customers, driven by their demand.
Can you outline the company's plans, especially some of the India-specific plans for 2021?
First, I will touch on our global plans, and then we will briefly touch on Asia, Asia, and then India. I mean, our overall plan from a VMware perspective is absolutely driven by customers, right? In spite of working from home, I myself have must have spoken to easily 100 plus CIOs in Asia last year. Almost invariably, each one of them, the question is, hey, what is that I can do to drive my digital transformation faster? And to do that, how can I leverage all these solutions from cloud, and how can I modernize my applications, and how can I enable all my employees to work remotely? Invariably, it falls in these three buckets, right? So from a VMware perspective, last year, we brought all our solutions in the form of 5 solution platforms. And the 5 solution platforms are primarily around, app modernization, and then leveraging cloud solutions, end user solutions, and then network and security. As we are stepping into this year, 2021, we have even simplified it even more. Is the first bucket is all around app and cloud modernization, because we see that application modernization, leveraging multi-cloud, goes hand in glove. Why people are leveraging cloud is definitely they need to modernize their applications, because as we discussed earlier, they want to deliver the services to customers. So app and cloud modernization is in one bucket. And the second bucket, what we are calling it, as a anywhere workspace, right? So where almost every enterprise, every company is looking at enabling their employees to work from wherever they are. So what we call it as, used to call it as any. So how they can enable their employees to work from anywhere workspace, there it goes hand in glove with security solutions. So these two strategies, right? One is around app and cloud modernization, and the other one is around anywhere workspace with security. Those are our two primary strategies. And the third one, what we call it, is a perpetual to SaaS. So there is an expectation the customers are moving in that particular direction, and we need to be with them and provide them the capability to consume all our services in such fashion. So our global strategy will be around that. There are, again, I'm not going into the nuts and bolts here, but against each one of those pillars, there is lots of innovation, lots of solutions planned through the course of this year to help customers with their digital transformation journey, number one, globally. When it comes to Asia Pacific, we are made up of 5 different regions. And as you can imagine, most of, if not all the major emerging economies, right? Whether it's China, India, Australia, Japan, and then what we call as Southeast Asia, Korea. So all these, and as we are coming out of COVID, the whole world is looking at APJ, or Asia Pacific and Japan as a region, how we are going to come out of it, and then how we are going to embrace this digital transformation and accelerate with solutions such as 5G and also cloud and whatnot, right? So what we will do is we take all these global strategies and then apply it based on local requirements, right? So that's number 2. Third one, from an India perspective, everybody is looking at India being one of the largest democracies, and then with largely populated country, how you are coming out of, hopefully with all the COVID-19 vaccine rollouts, right? There is an expectation that the Indian economy is really going to pick up. And so it's a similar pulse, what I'm seeing in the last couple of months, whether it's talking to your banks or talking to your national stock exchange or talking to your number of other customers in various fields, there is this definite momentum in India. They really want to use this, if I can call it as a crisis, as an opportunity, right? Come out of COVID, take that as an opportunity to accelerate their digital transformation, and then come out on the other end even more stronger. So from an India perspective, the solution and the strategy will all be the same, but we are trying to work and adapt it to the local requirements.
Thanks for the detailed response, Guru. I would want to understand one more thing. Since there is a lot of emphasis on mental health, especially since employees have been working remotely for especially in the last couple of months. And we are talking a lot about mental health. I want to understand, how do you unwind, especially after a busy and challenging day, and how do you encourage your team to do the same?
Yeah, thank you, Sohini. It's a very, very important topic what you're touching, right? Where in my opinion, people used to talk about work-life balance. Now the gray area between work and life is almost gone, right? So people are working more number of hours. That's the general pulse, although they are working from home. What mean, I personally do, and I kind of encourage my team to do, is to still carve out time to do their own personal stuff, right? For example, whether it's in the form of at least in my case, what I do is try to spend some time with nature in the form of a walk or a run or a bike ride, or listen to some music, etc. So that's what I do. And in some of my colleagues' cases, that what people have done, and they've shared their own stories, that they've tried to learn something new, right? For example, one of my colleague, he always wanted to learn a bit of music, but then he has never got the opportunity to do it. But he pushed himself to, and he's really, really enjoying it, because now everything is available online anyway. Doesn't have to go. And some of my other colleagues, they're learning yoga. So they just started learning something new. So learning something new and has definitely helped them, because this, I'm hearing it from some of my other stories as well with friends and colleagues, is keeping them mentally strong as well, right? Or almost like switching off and switching on. And then what we have also internally within VMware as a company, what we decided is um, every quarter, what we call as an epic day off, right? So we just, and that actually became a big buzz, right? Because people, um, as I mentioned to you before, people have forgotten what the work-life balance is, right? People have forgotten how to take holidays. People have forgotten how to kind of switch off and go out and spend time wherever they need to. So we have, in addition to the epic day off, some of the teams, including in my own team, my global CTO team, every Friday afternoon, it's a no meetings day. So absolutely nobody will have any type of meeting scheduled on Zoom, right? So they may have one-on-one sessions going out for a cup of coffee, or otherwise have a coffee session, but then absolutely no Zoom sessions Friday afternoon. So each department is trying their own way to do it. My urge to our own team members is it's okay to carve out in your own calendar these 2 hours. I'm not going to be available, right? It may be even 30 minutes in the middle of the day, carving out their own. Lastly, what we also done is instead of a full 1 hour meeting, now we have established a practice which is turning out to be really good, is having a 20-minute meeting or a 50-minute meeting, right? So just give breaks in between meetings. So at least giving some time for people to switch off from Zoom, or not just sit in a particular place and then go Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. Just, I mean, one more thing I would like to share is a couple of days back, some of my other team members, they have started establishing just taking calls when they walk. Hey, what about, let's have our next one-on-one call. You go for a walk, I go for a walk, and let's just talk to each other, so instead of a Zoom call. So things like that, Sohini, and I think we're all learning from each other and redefining what do we mean by work-life balance.
So that's extremely inspiring, Guru. Thanks for sharing these details with us. And yes, there's a lot of learning from each other, as you rightly said. Finally, I would like to ask you, if you can share some of your expert advice with for our budding CTOs and IT managers in the next normal, I would say.
No, thank you, Sohini. I mean, my 2 cents will be that being flexible and being adaptable and be the change agent, right? So these things have really served me well in my work experience. I mean, always being a change agent, right? And it's easier said than done. So what does that mean is that I need to change myself as well on a daily basis, right? People are expecting me as a technology person to go and help them in their disruption. So if you talk to any of the CIOs and CTOs, yeah, they want to transform their teams. They want to change the culture. And it's not about just the technology. The more tougher thing to do is to change the process and to change the operating model and change the culture in the company. And many of the CIO CTOs, yeah, the way how their employees work today is going to fundamentally change. And to do that, they need to ensure that people have the necessary skill set. So what happens is that on a day in, day out, most of the CIOs and CTOs, if not all of them, are grappling with managing these changes, right? So being a change agent is paramount if you want to be a chief technology officer, number one. And number two is leveraging technology, which is also changing rapidly. So learning or becoming a continuous learning person or a continuous learning culture in your team also becomes really, really important. That's number two. Third one is being flexible and being adaptable, right? Again, I don't have to say, but at the last 12 months, that thing has also come out very, very in the open, right? What are the things that we can do better to adapt ourselves with all the challenges, right? Whatever type of challenges is going to thrown onto you, how you can leverage technology but still be adaptable to it and being flexible. All these are really, really important. Last but not the least, but it's one of the most important, is to listen more. And then, because as a technologist, what happens is, and way back in my career, I kind of learned it the hard way, is yeah, you can be a fantastic technologist. You can come out with a new solution, but if it is not going to actually satisfy user requirement, so it's extremely important from almost day one to ensure whatever solution we are putting together is to satisfy a business requirement, right? So long as, and we can only do that if you listen more and also engage others as we put together a solution. So all these things, in my opinion, are some of the key characteristics which will be necessary for a successful CTO.
So thank you very much, Guru. That was an extremely enlightening conversation, and I would like to thank you. Thanks a lot for your time and the wonderful conversation that we had. Thank you.
Thank you, Sohini. Thanks for your time.